Hello, happy Wednesday. Welcome to Q&A Wednesday. I am your host, Intellects, and our question for today is, success comes, what's next? I don't own the rights to this music. I'm going to share this out to a few people and then we're going to get started. All right, so we are going to jump right in. So a lot of people aim for success, right? And it's like the goal. But then when it comes, what do you do, right? What do you do? So we are going to look at a couple videos that focuses on that. And then we're going to talk about it. I hope everyone's Wednesday is going well so far. I know I'm on a little bit earlier than our scheduled time, but you know. Okay.
You can easily train yourself to listen faster. You ever get that feeling? I have a friend called Brent Hayden. He's an Olympic medalist and a world champion swimmer and is actually in the crowd tonight. His whole life he put in the practice, the blood, sweat, and tears to get to a point where finally, success after success, the glory of beating Michael Phelps. He proudly wore that medal around his neck and is exactly where he wanted to be. And then came the money, the fame, the body of a god, selfie fans left, right, and center, and the dream that he dreamt when from he was just a little boy finally came true. But during that high, there was a little voice in the back of his head that started to get louder and louder. After depressions hit him. It's a thing, and it's a caricature of what I'm here to tell you about. How do we deal with life after the big success? He wasn't ready. So this is how my story goes. I always knew that I wanted to be a singer-songwriter, and I started from the bottom, literally trampled underfoot. My broken home felt shitty, and the school I was in felt even shittier. My parents were in a constant screaming battle, and in parallel I had no friends to confide in because I was the new kid whose parents got divorced, so I got bullied and picked on. And, like being beaten up wasn't enough, I had really crappy grades, remember? So I grew up feeling powerless, rejected, and not very protected in school. It was the best life ever. I didn't think I was good at anything except singing. But of course, nobody knew about my hidden talent until there was that one time I was the victim of a pretty harsh practical joke with some pretty nasty girls. They're not here tonight, don't worry. The constant physical and emotional beatdowns in school had been going on for 8 years. And that was the final straw. That prank was my turning point. I had decided that at the end of the school year fair, in front of everybody, for the first time ever, I was going to do what I did best: sing. The amount of practice was all a blur, but it was all I did for months. Fast forward to the slow motion of the sound guy handing me the microphone, because that's what it was like in my head. Like it was some cutscene from a movie, because you don't get it. Being constantly made fun of by everybody in my school made me terrified to a point where I nearly chickened out at the last second. My entire body was shaking like now, and my heart was begging to jump out of my chest. It was my chance to go big or go home, or go big, get made fun of, go home, and never show my face in school again. And I decided that day to nail it. Then, the first few piano notes of Céline Dion's Prière païenne started to play. I took a deep breath, and I sang, Les mains serrées, ça c'est facile. And it was so facile, the rest of it, and it was appeasing. Fermez les yeux. So I closed my eyes, and I was right back under my shower head. I was ready for that very moment in my entire life, and I was singing my ass off. And it was clear to everybody that I was doing exactly what I was born to do. Their jaws dropped. I finally showed these bullies, and it also showed me that I was wrong about what I had been conditioned to believe that I was for so long. I was moving up the food chain. I then sang at every school fair after that, and as the years went by, I tailored my confidence like Robert Plant, I worked on my voice like Céline Dion, I trained my sass and my confidence from Pink, and I borrowed Alicia Keys' soul for the stage. I was all of those ingredients, mixed up and baked in a beautiful Chrissy pie. And I felt so proud, and that's where it all started. I began to perform at high-end bars, weddings, touring the Middle East with 8 Art Entertainment. I was winging one singing talent competition after the next. At 26, my career skyrocketed when I reached the quarterfinals on Kadem Sahir's team on the first season of The Voice Arabia. That was my big break, my first big break. Just like Brent, I had my first big break. I now have the money, the fame, maybe not the body of a goddess, but selfie fans left, right, and center, and the dream that I dreamt when I was just a little girl finally felt like it came true. Still high off of that success, I went back home, I took off my makeup, and the next day when I woke up, it hit me too. Not athlete's depression, but it hit me. It was the same voice that got louder and louder, and it was yucky, and it was heavy. I wasn't going to get picked up to go to the studio at 8 a.m. anymore. It was all over. Everything went away so fast, it was almost cruel. And I was victoriously tired. Then I started to hear, so what are you going to do next? You know, that question. I have no idea. I worked so hard that I was lost between giving myself a break and staying under the spotlight. I didn't know how to deal with my life after the big success. A year later, I got my second big break by winning the Dubai Music Week 2013 Talent Search Competition that got me signed to Quincy Jones' production. And it was the most incredible experience of my life because I was dealing with an international scale. Quincy Jones made Michael Jackson famous. It felt like pressure. I spent my time in and out of the studio, working on songs, trying to be the next Lebanese Beyonce. And I was exactly where I wanted to be all over again. I now had, actually in 2016, I did Care About Us. And it was dedicated to the current sanitation crisis. Then I performed at the Montreux Jazz Festival. And then I went to LA to finish writing my first album. Mid-2017 came, and my contract with Quincy ended. Boom, the pace got slower. I was stuck in a downward spiral. I lost the structure, I lost the momentum, Quincy's feedback, and then an unwelcome feeling of melancholy started to set in every time I heard our songs play, just like when I was on The Voice. Then I focused on what I wasn't, and I completely forgot about Chris, about her music. I gained 12 kilos, and for a girl who's mitrunas, it's a lot. Luckily, I have my heels. I went to the studio, but I had no purpose and no choice but to move to Bordeaux, and I was depressed all over again. Somewhere along that line, I read something that Mick Jagger said. You lose your dream and you lose your mind. That's what happened. Tilt. I realized that I was outside of my comfort zone, but for the very first time, it was a comfortable place for me, and it hit me. I had still been writing. I didn't need the studio. Fear became my muse. It did. The writing material had always been here. I was always prepared, but I was too scared to unmask my actual potential because Robert Plant, Celine Dion, Pink, and Alicia Keys were always my safety net. When did Chris ever come? When did Chris ever come out? So I got back into the studio all over again with Youth, Martin Glover in London, and for the first time, I did me. I wrote my second EP, and this time, I didn't need anybody to hold my hand. Then, I went to Switzerland and worked on my best song yet, called Save Me with Fanny Leb. It's going to be coming very soon. Last month, I just moved back to Lebanon, and I'm very proud about it. This summer, I plan on working with the Brain Studio to pick the fruits that I planted all of these years in order to release one single after the next. My baby steps had shown me that I was exactly where I needed to be and exactly what I needed to do. And if you guys think about it, so do you. Think about it. You know exactly what to do and where to go. Do I dream big? Hell yeah. Am I there yet? Hell no. I got a long way to go. Way long. But every little story that I just told you has brought me that much closer to an even greater success. How do you deal with the success, the drop, the picking yourself up, the success, the drop, the picking yourself up? You know that Google quote. You know how it goes. Success is when opportunity meets preparation. Listen to it again. When opportunity meets preparation. That guy's shaking his head. So be prepared. You will be. Stay in that momentum. Keep moving forward. You need to be under that spotlight. Nobody wants to be a has-been. Dory said, just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. You know how it goes, right? Just keep swimming. There were days where I didn't recognize myself. But all I know is that right here on this stage and right here in front of this microphone is exactly where I want to be. I was born to be on this stage behind this microphone, and I'm gonna just keep singing, just keep singing. My name is Chris, and it has been a pleasure to be here today. Thank
you. All right. So that was Chris Jor, for those that didn't catch her name. And she talked about her life after success. So, you know, like I said earlier, a lot of us, we try to aim for success. We do so much to chase. We go after it, but then once it comes, what is our response? Do we stay there? Are we stagnant? Once it comes, it's like, okay, I've done it, and then I'm not doing anything else. So here's a couple things that I got from the video. So a lot of times when you're trying to be successful, and even if you're not, if you're just trying to stay afloat, there are going to be those negative thoughts, those self-doubting thoughts, those self-sabotaging thoughts. And, you know, some of us give into those thoughts and we believe it, even if it's not true. You know, I encourage you, and I'm on this journey myself, to go against those thoughts because they're going to come. You know, it's all about how you respond to them. Don't give them any type of time or energy. Use your energy for something else. All right. The next thing, when success comes, work for the next one. Don't just stop at the first success that you get. You know, you achieve one thing, find something else to achieve. Make a list. Check it off. Okay. You got one thing down, go to the next thing. If you only have one thing that you ever want to do, you might want to expand your list. You know, you might want to dig a little deeper to figure out what else you should be doing, right? Another thing is focus on what you want. Don't focus on what you're not doing. Don't focus on what, is not happening yet. Don't focus on what you don't have. Focus on what you want. Focus on what you want to achieve. Because when your focus is in the right direction, it's easier to stay on course and to get there. Another thing, let fear be your muse. A lot of times we allow fear to stop us from getting to where we want to be. So instead of us doing that, we can let fear be the fuel to getting us to that success that we want, those successes. A lot of times we limit ourselves and we put limits on our successes because of fear, because we don't think that we can achieve it. We don't think that we're capable of getting to that point. But when we start to actually believe in ourselves and be confident in ourselves and know exactly what we want and where we want to go, the best thing to do is start. You might not have it all figured out when you start. You'll figure it out along the way. But the longer you wait to achieve those successes, the longer it's going to take to get there. And the longer you allow those thoughts to intervene, those fears, those doubts, those anxieties to come into play, those are what overpower and cause you to be stagnant, cause you to stay exactly where you are. But if you are looking to succeed this year, get out of your head, focus on what you want, allow fear to fuel you, okay? Let go of that safety net. Be comfortable being uncomfortable. And, this is not an easy thing, so I'm not expecting you to be all in, on board. It takes a lot of commitment. It takes a lot of dedication to be comfortable being uncomfortable. A lot of us are comfortable and we like being comfortable. I like to be comfortable, but we all have to get to a point where we are comfortable being uncomfortable, because growth does not happen, success does not happen in comfort. You have to get uncomfortable. You have to do what most people aren't doing in order to excel in whatever area that you're trying to excel in. You can't do the same thing and expect different results. You have to level up. You have to be uncomfortable. So, Chris said in the video that success is when opportunity meets preparation. Get prepared, be prepared, and stay prepared. Those are the best options that you can do. So that way, when the opportunity comes, you know what to do with it. A lot of us want certain opportunities, but we aren't ready for them. So if you want to be successful and when it comes, be prepared for it. And don't just have one thing on your list. Have multiple things on your list. So that way, once you achieve one thing, that's off the list, then you can keep going and achieve something else. All right. Welcome to Q&A Wednesdays. Our question for this week is success comes, what's next? So we got into one video that talked about her life after success and how, it's easy to compare yourself to others. It's easy to fall victim to that. But when you actually spend time with yourself, learn about who you are and your purpose and why you're here, it's easier for you to focus so that you can be successful. And once you get to one thing that you want to do, it'll be easier to check some more things off your list. All right, we're going to move into the next video.
Hey everybody, it's Tony Robbins. Once a year I've done a free program for 5 days, literally 90 minutes.
Success, guys, a very, very lonely road, man. Very few people are willing to endure the pain, the sacrifice, due diligence to be successful. It's an uphill battle. And along that road, you're not going to see too many friends. You're going to see your shadow most often. You got to trust in the heart of hearts. Inside what you're doing, what you believe in, is a worthy cause, a winnable fight. See, the thing is, for many people, they've tried the same path you're on, and they failed. As you walk this journey, you're going to see carcasses all over the place of people that didn't quite have it. That should inspire you, because you got further than that person and that person. But you're not looking to get further than them. You're looking to finish. How do you know you're on the right path? Where do you go to ensure that? Do you talk to your neighbor? No, you don't talk to him. I'll tell you about the neighbor, guys. That neighbor's going to come in, man, and if you're a little chubby, a little overweight, you'd be like, hey, man, I'm thinking about doing a routine, man, or getting a training program where I lose some weight. He's going to encourage you at first. He said, yeah, you should. Basically insulting your ass, and you're fat, and you need to lose some weight. It's never support. It's negative shit. Oh, you should lose some weight. So then you take his advice, and you start training, you start doing something, you start to get in shape a little bit, maybe at his level. Then all of a sudden, he's going to start asking questions. His tone's going to shift, especially as you get in better shape than him. Then he's going to start talking shit. Because what happens now, guys, is that your success is like a spotlight shining down on their missed opportunities. Success, many will love you for it. The majority will hate you. Because your success makes them feel insufficient in their current endeavor. Reminds them of where they could have done it, but they came up short, and how they didn't revisit it. Where they went at it and failed, and failure is what stood. They never revisited it again. The difference between a winner and a loser, the failure's there every single time. It's just the winner gets back up and does it again, until it goes his way. So now you're down that path and you're all alone. How do you know you're on the right path? How do you know what you're doing is in the right direction? If you're wondering if you're on the right path, look at the small things of life. How do you do that? When you wash your car, you spend an hour washing your car. You finish washing, you put the hoses, everything away, the brushes, you come outside to look at the job you did, but you notice the spot's missing. What do? Do you re-grab the hose and pull it all out and finish the job right, or do you say, you know, that's good enough? And that's good enough. Because the thing about good enough is we don't know if it's enough. Until the nth hour, the final hour, and everything's on the line. That's when we find out if it is enough. And if we come up short, man, doesn't that suck? I promise you guys, if today you never say good enough, tomorrow you'll always have enough. What I'm saying is the character of who you are. It's not the title that makes you. It's not the success that makes you. The character defines the success, defines the fame, and it starts right there. Championships aren't won in the theater or the arena. They're won in the thousands of hours in the training room, in the labs, in the 5 a.m. runs, and the training when everyone else is sleeping. That's when it's won. The heart of a champion is a light switch that's always on. It doesn't go on and off when someone's watching. It's constant. It's how you look at something. If your name's attached to it, and you do it right, the best of your ability every single time. If you're dusting your countertops, do you dust around the picture frame? Or do you pick the up and dust the entire thing? Do the job right or don't do it at all. That's the same person who has his hand raised on the podium one day. Same motherfuckers. How you hold yourself in the small things of life. Build the character winning blocks of the things that we're remembered for. It begins right now with no one looking, man. And how you hold yourself, how you see yourself. What do you do when no one's watching? If you do it then, I guarantee you, you'll be doing it when everyone's watching.
All right. So Greg Plitt, that was his voice on this video, and you know, he goes into how, you know, what do you do when you feel like giving up, right? So he says success is a lonely road. That means there's going to be majority of the time that you are going to have to do it on your own. Now, if that's not something that you're into, if that's not something that appeases you, you know, it's going to be harder for you to actually do it. But there are, you know, people that fight through it. It's based on how bad you actually want something. Now, all of us can attest to some time in our life where we wanted something and we did whatever it took to get that something, right? So let's compare it to success. How bad do you want success? If it's something that you really want, something that you're willing to do the work for, it will happen. But you have to be at a point where you want it to happen. And when it does happen, that's not the end. That's not, okay, I'm successful now. What? You have more of a responsibility now. And what you do behind closed doors, what you do when you're alone, is going to show based on, how you perform in front of others. Like he said, when it comes to championships and things of that nature, it's not about, you winning on the court or in the field or whatever aspect or arena that you're in. You win those things based off of the work that you put in, those hours that nobody sees, those early mornings and late nights, that those hard times where you kept pushing, doing the consistent work when you didn't feel like it. You put the feelings and emotions to the side when you were focused. Those are what make you win. Those are what make you successful. He said many will love you and majority will hate you, because when you are walking in your purpose, when you're walking in your purpose, you look like something to other people that are not. It's like a constant reminder of what they are not doing. So be prepared for that. There's going to be people that don't like you because of the fact that you remind them of what they're not doing. Or it could be people that are striving to have the same things that you have in the same field that you want to be in and the same expertise, but you're working for it and they're not. They are not going to like you. How are you going to respond to that? Are you going to give it a response? Some things are better left alone, so, pick and choose your battles wisely. Another thing is good enough for you? You have to define what success is to you. You can't go based off of what someone else thinks, because that's not who you are. If success to you is having a business, owning a home, having a family, having something on the side, having land, if that's your definition of success, awesome. Someone else's definition could be owning multiple businesses, being a serial entrepreneur, being a motivational speaker, being a world-known national artist or actress or actor. Or, someone else's success could be a great firefighter or an awesome lawyer, So don't limit yourself to one person's definition of success, because it's different based on who you ask. So is good enough for you, or are you going to do the work in order to get that next success? Hey, welcome to Q&A Wednesdays. Our question for today is, success comes, what's next? So we watched a couple of videos so far where basically talking about staying focused, knowing that success is a lonely road, so you have to make up your mind whether or not you actually want it. And if that's what you want, get comfortable being uncomfortable. We also talked about how success comes from work, and when you get one success, you don't stop there. You find something else to get successful at, and you accomplish that, and you keep going, But then when success comes, there's responsibility. So you can't expect to stay at the same level that you were when you came in, because someone who is in the thousands, they have thousands in their account, they're not a millionaire yet. When they become a millionaire, there's more responsibility. Somebody that's a public speaker and they ended up becoming a more notable speaker, more engagements, more interviews, things of that nature, there's going to be more responsibility. So stay prepared. Be prepared so that when opportunity comes, you can grab it by the horns. All right. Also, you win by the work that you put in. So whatever you put in, that's what you're going to get out. If you do 50%, you're going to get 50%. If you do 100, you're going to do 100. You're going to get 100, right? So it's not about what you do in front of others, is what you can do consistently, because that's what's going to show. All right, so we are going to move on to the next video and talk about it.
Being a real estate agent, being a good one, is really only about one thing. Should we buy?
So let me start off how I would if I were in the company of hundreds of complete strangers. Let me start by telling you my deepest fear. Now, actually, had you asked me this a couple years ago, I'm pretty sure number one on my list would have been spiders. I hate spiders. I'm terrified of spiders. Right behind that probably would have been that somebody in Hollywood may have gotten the bright idea to reboot one of my favorite movie series, The Godfather. Because I don't know if you can tell, but Hollywood is sort of running out of ideas. And if somebody touches The Godfather, I'm going to have a major issue with that. No, you asked me today what my greatest fear is, and unequivocally, it's success. I'm sure a lot of you probably didn't expect me to say that my greatest fear is success, but it's true. And here's why. That's because success, it creates expectations. Success, it creates stakes. Success, it creates accountability. It's so much easier, and we do it a lot, for us to imagine failure. That's easy. We think about failure all the time. Most of us are really consumed with it. But the success part, we don't imagine and envision that as much. Some of you probably don't believe me. You're looking at me a little weird. I understand. So in the interest of helping my theory, I'm going to conduct a little experiment with you right now. I want everybody in here to close their eyes. Even you in the cheap seats, close your eyes, okay? I want you to imagine your dream home, whatever that may be. I want you to imagine receiving the top award in your profession. I want you to imagine being on a beach in Cabo and somebody with wonderful abs bringing you a Corona and Sade playing in the background. Oh, I'm sorry, that was my success, my bad. I was thinking about me. No, you can open your eyes now. Now, think about it. Did that success that you imagined, did that feel real? Did that feel like something tangible, something you could actually achieve? Or did it just feel like some weird lady at the TED Talk is just having you do something just to humor her and give her a giggle? My guess is that it probably didn't feel all that real and tangible to you because of the way that our mind works and processes when it comes to success and failure. As was mentioned, I have a daily TV show on ESPN2 called His and Hers, weekdays, 12 to 1 on the East Coast, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on the West Coast. Oh, you guys thought I was going to leave this stage without giving my own show a plug? You must be kidding me. Even though me and my co-host, Michael Smith, it's been our dream, we're really good friends, and it's been our dream to always work together, I can tell you unequivocally that 90% of the time when I think about our show, I think about the failures. I think about, what if the ratings tank? What if one of us gets fired? What if something happens? I think about all the worst case scenarios. Maybe 10% of the time, I might imagine us becoming like Pardon the Interruption, a show we have on ESPN. That's one of our most successful shows. Maybe 10%. And I'll even bring it right now to this very moment. When they asked me to give a TED Talk, I can't tell you how many times I imagined failing at this. I imagined, tripping on the way out here. I imagined not being able to connect and relate to you guys. I imagined that I wouldn't leave you with something tangible that you can take away that might help you in whatever is your daily pursuit. I imagine all that. And not once did I imagine receiving a standing ovation. And that is not a cheap ploy to get a standing ovation. All right. But not one time did I imagine how successful this could be. And so I got to thinking, how do we change that? That's a $64,000 question. How do we change from always envisioning failure to making success feel real? It's actually worth more than $65,000 or $64,000 if you ask me. There's, to me, only two ways that you can change it. Or maybe it's more than two, but for now, I'll just say two. I think you have to turn all your negatives into positives. All the reasons you can't have to become the reasons that you will. And I'm a really good example of that. So one of the questions I'm often asked is, how did you become interested in sports journalism? And usually I give them sort of this patented stock answer, and it's the truth, so it's not like I'm making this up. I grew up watching sports as a kid. I was a classic tomboy. I loved playing sports with the guys in my neighborhood. I just really loved sports. And back in those days, and this always freaks out the young folks when I say this, if you wanted to follow your favorite team or follow your favorite player, you actually had to read the newspaper. And even get this, there were times where you would read the newspaper and you knew a sporting event was coming on, and you might not know the result until the next day when you picked up the newspaper. It was a crazy world. It was bananas how that worked. So that's how I wound up sort of loving newspapers. But here's two parts of the story that I don't often share. I've shared it a few times, but it's pretty rare. So I became interested in writing because when I was growing up, both of my parents were addicted to drugs. And so I saw them face a lot of very dark demons. I saw a lot of things as a result of their addiction. And the one thing about writing that's really great is that if you don't like the world you're living in, writing allows you to create your own world, to create your own reality. And so I started writing short stories and poems and mini novels, and I kept a journal, and that eventually all translated into me working for my high school newspaper. The other part of the story I don't often share is obviously with growing up in Detroit and us having some economic sort of disadvantages. My mother was on welfare, and so to supplement her welfare income, she would clean houses. And one of her clients was an elderly guy named Mr. Miller. And Mr. Miller read the paper every day. He subscribed to both newspapers in Detroit, the Detroit News and the Detroit Free Press. And so I would have to tag along with her as she cleaned his house. So while she was mopping the floors and sweeping and doing all the other tasks, I was in the family room reading the newspaper. And so that's how I developed my love for newspapers and had access to them. So hearing all that, given my background, maybe this popped into your mind or maybe it didn't. How the hell did I go to college? How the hell did I attend Michigan State and graduate from there? And by the way, I'm officially the second person from Michigan State on this stage, just to give my alma mater a shout out. So that was pretty interesting. At that time in Detroit, when I was in high school, there was this sort of need and this citywide campaign to make or have more college-bound students from Detroit. And so they started a program that had 3 stipulations. And if you met these stipulations, then you could, they would pay for your tuition and fees at any college in Michigan, or they pay for a portion of them if you left the state. So the 3 stipulations were this. 1, you had to maintain a 3.0 all through high school. 2, you had to have 90% attendance. And 3, you had to have at least or score at least a 19 on the ACT. So I enrolled in that program. I met all the stipulations. One of the reasons why I went to Michigan State. And the second thing, sort of a bizarre concept that the government seems to have forgotten, but back then, it actually worked pretty well if you were poor and tried to go to school, tried to go to college. They actually were interested in sending people from economically challenged backgrounds to college. So I used to tell my mother, I was like, look, I never thought I'd say this to you, but being poor is the thing. Thank you so much. Because I got a Pell Grant, I got work study, I got all of that because she had been on welfare for most of my childhood. And all that came to work for me at that moment. So I tell you all that to say, if you think about all the negatives I've just listed for you, drug addicted parents, poverty, inner city, Detroit, if you want to throw that in there. And I can joke about Detroit because I'm from Detroit. All those negatives, right? they eventually turned out to be huge positives for me. So I would implore you all right now, think about every negative in your life. Think about every reason that you have not to succeed. Think of every barrier that's in your way right at this moment. I guarantee you, everything you thought of, that's going to be the reason you succeed. Thank you.
All right. That was Jamil Hill. I hope I said her name right. And she talked about how success can be scarier than failure, especially if you are used to failing, right? But a few things that she talked about that were on point was how you turn those negatives into positives. And if you focus on how those help you and excel you and propel you into success, they won't be looked at as that negative anymore. We all have stories, right? We all have things in our lives that can say, wow, if that was me listening to someone else's story about what they've been through, I don't know how I would have made that. And people can say the same thing about your story. But your story is what makes you who you are. And it also affects how you will be successful. And based on those negative things, those barriers, those obstacles that we have in our lives, depending on how we respond to them, ultimately affects our success. Okay? So what she talked about was how turning you can't into you will. Right? So what we're going to do now, we are going to watch this next video, and then we are going to sum up everything that we've learned today about success comes, what's next. And you can let me know in the comments how you feel about this topic, what your take is on it, and just feedback. We definitely love feedback. Okay?
This is you. Or at least it could be you. You've been island hopping through Greece with a group of people.
I was born a twin. And growing up, I had a lot in common with my twin sister. But when we were kids, we took the standardized IQ test. And they told me, "You're not the smart one." I was surprised because genetically we were the same. I don't know if that test was correct. And I don't care. Because at an early age, I decided I was going to control my destiny. And I was determined to be successful. My teachers said that in order to be successful, I had to excel at the 3 R's. Reading, writing, and arithmetic. Only later did I learn that only one of those actually started with an R. There was one other R that I needed in order to be successful. And it's not what you think, but it's what all of the successful people I know have. And it's what I had after I was broke, unemployed, and devastated at 23 to be more successful than I could ever have imagined. And the 4th R is called resilience. Resilience is such a key part of being successful. You don't need to be the smartest, you don't need to be the hardest working, and you don't need to have the highest IQ. Have you ever failed? In school, in work, in business? Well, if you have, great, because you are one step closer. Because failure is essential to mastering resilience. I was watching an episode of The Biggest Loser recently, and it reminded me of my dad. Not because my dad's trying to lose weight on TV for money, but because early on, when I was a kid, he used to ask me, "Kim, what's the worst thing that happened to you today?" It's kind of a weird thing to ask, but he did it for a purpose. He was building my resilience. he was making me stronger. So I tell him the worst thing that had happened to me that day. You'll never believe it, Dad. Wait till you hear this. And recently I called him. I told him, Dad, you'll never believe what happened to me today. We won a big contract. But one of my key engineers had left. How was I going to build it? I was actually proud of myself. There's no way he could top that. He said, Kimmy, I'm so glad you called me. One of my companies can't make payroll, and I was going to call you for a loan. What? He won that, and I was a loser. What my dad taught me early on is that failure hurts badly. But when you get knocked down, you have to get up again and keep going. I had my worst failure at age 23, right after I graduated from Pepperdine. I went to work for a hot internet startup in Los Angeles. It was a job of my dreams. I called all of my friends. I said, I'm going to be a .com millionaire. You guys need to come work with me. We can all be millionaires. What could go wrong? It was right after Yahoo had gone public, and I was confident Yahoo would be the biggest search engine forever. It was like being on a rocket ship. But unfortunately, that rocket ship crashed, and I was devastated. In an instant, someone had erased my career, my identity, and my future. I had to lay off all of my friends. And eventually I was laid off too. I couldn't believe it. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't have anyone to call because my friends who I'd promised to become .com millionaires now were actually broke. Not even a Hallmark card can help that. I was broke, unemployed, and devastated. The average 23-year-old is only one of these things, and I was all three. I wanted to go home, go to bed, pull the covers over my head, and have an affair with Ben and Jerry. I had hit rock bottom. And I also hit the bottom of the pint of Rocky Road. And at that moment, I realized I needed to get up. I had to keep going. I believed in the internet, and I believed in the opportunity. There was only one problem. I was broke. My track record of bankruptcy made it hard for anyone who wanted to lend me money. The economy had crashed, so I called the one person I thought could give me more flexible terms on a loan. My 80-year-old grandma. Said, Grandma, I've got an amazing investment opportunity for you in the internet. She said, Kimmy, what's an internet? I tried to explain her what the internet was, but it was a little bit hard for her to grasp. So I think it turned out well for me because she gave me the loan anyway. She made a bet on me. So with $10,000 from my grandma, I bought a computer, a business license, and a one-way ticket to Hawaii. Sounds beautiful. It was. It sounded like a perfect opportunity. Everyone says, poor you had to go to Hawaii. But the reality is, I went there because I could live rent-free with my boyfriend. And I spent the next 3 years working from his kitchen table. I didn't learn the hula. I didn't learn to surf. Actually, did I forget to mention, this was the reality. His sister and her best friend actually lived with us, and 10 feet away every day, they would blare MTV and smoke weed. They were hotboxing my office. It was very, very hard to concentrate, and not the most ideal startup environment. And it was at this kitchen table that I took control of my future and my destiny. After 5 years, the company had grown to $100 million, which I sold in 2008 and sold again in 2014 for $235 million. It was at this time that I learned resilience. And that resilience was a muscle that you could strengthen and build. But in 2014, that muscle was about to be tested to its breaking point. This is a story I've never shared publicly until now. It just hurt too much. 5 years ago, when I was looking to sell my company, I put a Post-it on my bathroom mirror. Said the date, June, said the potential acquirer, and had my vision there so I could see it every day. What I also had next to that vision was a picture of the ultrasound of my twins. I was so excited. I couldn't believe it. I had tried for nearly 6 years. I was trying to get pregnant. It just didn't happen. We did everything. Having a family was a dream I wanted and a gift I wanted my entire life. But nothing worked. IVF, doctors, we didn't know. I would have traded all of my business success to have a baby. So we decided to get a surrogate. And 6 years later, it worked. We got the news we were having twins. And being a twin, I was over the moon. I couldn't believe it. This was the best news I'd ever heard. And we weren't going to tell anyone till at least the second trimester. We'd been on a roller coaster during the pregnancy trying to get pregnant, and we just didn't want to jinx it. It was nerve-wracking. And plus, I had this big deal I was working on to occupy my mind. It was the perfect plan. I would sell the company in June, and the babies would come in August. But life never goes according to plan. I'd been training my whole life. I'd built my resilience muscle. But on May 5th, 2014, the best and worst day of my life, I got a call from the doctor. They said, Kim, your babies have an infection, and they're going to be delivered. It was 24 weeks. 4 months early. Did you know the #1 cause of newborn death is prematurity? And that's anything under 37 weeks. We were at 24. The doctor said there was a 50-50 chance they would even survive. I felt so helpless and so powerless. It wasn't until even a couple weeks ago that I could even look at a picture. I had to call my family and ask them to send this to share with you. When our twins were born, we didn't get a hold of them. They weighed less than a pound, and they were whisked away to the newborn intensive care unit. My husband and I did not know what we were going to do. The first time that we were even able to touch them was through the hands of an incubator. My husband could put his ring on the wrist of my son, and it would dangle like a bracelet. My son's brain was bleeding, and my daughter had a hole in her heart. Every day, we did not think they were going to survive. My company, there was hundreds of lives depending on me to close the deal. And in the hospital, there was 2 children fighting for their lives. That picture was a vivid memory, a vivid nightmare that I never wanted to look at, never wanted to relive. Our twins taught us what it meant to be strong and resilient. Weeks went by, and my daughter had a successful heart surgery. my son's brain stopped bleeding before it impacted him. They showed us true strength. And day by day, they got stronger. 4.5 months later, we finally got to take them home. Before that day, if someone had asked me what success looks like, I would have said this. Yes, we closed the deal, and we sold for nearly $250 million. But today, if you ask me what success looks like, it looks like this. John and Elle taught us what true resilience looks like. So if you fail, learn from it. And if you fall, get back up. And if it feels impossible, keep going. That is the secret to success. Thank you.
All right. So that was Kim Perrell, and I will post the links to the videos that we watched today so that if you missed any of them, you can watch them in your own time. But we are going to go over what we learned today. All right, so Chris talked about her life after success and how you have to go against those negative thoughts in order to succeed. When success comes, you have to work for the next one. Don't just stop after your first success. Like with her, she, worked and worked and worked to get to a certain success, her first break. But then when it came, it was like, okay, what next? So make sure you have a plan. Make sure you figure out exactly what you want. Focus on that. Get rid of those distractions, right? Because success can come. So make sure that you are ready when it does come. All right. Let fear be your muse. Do it scared anyway. You might not have all the details. You might not have it all figured out, but start, because once you start, it's so much better. All right. Instead of just thinking about it, and then nothing happens, and then you regret. I heard someone say that regret weighs tons. So let's not live in regret. Okay. Let go of the safety net. Learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Be comfortable being uncomfortable. When you get to that point, you're willing to do whatever it takes to get to where you want to be. A lot of us want success, but we don't want the work that it takes to get there. So how bad do you really want it? Because at the end of the day, if it's something that we really want, we are going to do whatever it takes to get it. If you're a foodie and you want a specific meal, you're like, I don't care. If this store don't have it, I'm going to find another store. If that store doesn't have it, I'm going to go somewhere else. I don't care if I have to drive to another state. I'm going to get this today because this is what I want. We need to carry that same tenacity, that same drive when it comes to what we want in life, not just in our bellies, okay? Success is when opportunity meets preparation. Make sure you are prepared. Stay prepared so that when that opportunity comes, you can take it by the horns. So, don't just want something so bad and then when you get it, you don't know what to do with it. Make sure you are prepared so that you can handle it the way that it's supposed to be handled. All right. We also talked about how when you feel like giving up, to keep going. How success is a lonely road and everybody's not going to be supporting you. You're not going to have this fan base. People aren't going to always be there. Some people will love you, and then some people will hate you because you remind them of what they need to be doing. Stay the course anyway, and believe in yourself and work hard for it. Exactly. That confidence needs to be there because how you treat yourself is how others are going to treat you, and it's also how you come off. So if you are coming off like, I don't have the confidence, I don't know what I'm doing, that's how you are going to be conceit. That's how you're going to be perceived, right? So just make sure that you are mindful of how you come across, mindful of your preparation process, right? Because the more that you prepare, the more you study, the more that you work in whatever craft that you're in, the easier it's going to look, even if it's not, right? All right, so learn that is good enough for you. And if it's not, then, you need to work for what you want. Nothing comes by having it handed to you. You actually have to work for it. So whatever you put in is what you're going to get out. Also, character defines who you are. Yeah, when you fall, get back up and try it again. Exactly. Character defines who you are. So, it's not the wins based on the awards you get or the accolades, the different successes that you might have. It's based on the work that you do behind closed doors, the things that people don't see. That's the successes. And success is defined based on who you are. One person's success is different from someone else's. So making sure that you're not comparing yourself to someone else's successful life based on what you consider success. They might not consider themselves to be successful, but to you, that's like your dream, but just try not to compare yourselves, to other people who might be doing well based on your definition. But like I said, if you ask 50 people what their definition of success is, you're going to get 50 different answers. So be mindful of that. We also, and that was with Greg, we also heard from Jamil, where she focused on how success is scarier than failure. A lot of times we are stifled because of fear, and we allow that to stop us from actually pursuing our dreams and what we actually want to do. But do it scared anyway. Do it, just start somewhere, or live in regret. And living in regret, like I said, weighs tons. So we want to live light, right? So what she talked about was turning those negatives into positives, turning those I can'ts into I will. And if you look back over your life and look at all the negative things, the barriers, the obstacles that happened throughout your life, you'll see how that has actually pushed you into a successful path. All those things that you thought was working against you actually are those things that are propelling you into a great future. So try to change your mindset on what failure actually is and what those negative things are. Also, decide to control your destiny. So the secret to success based on Kim, she talked about this a lot, is having resilience. Less is Beauty Creation, you said, my definition for success is praying to God and setting realistic goals. Those are great. Those are really great. Because having that foundation will set you up for a great future. And having realistic goals is a great one as well, because if you set goals that you're really not going to reach, then you're setting yourself up for heartbreak and disappointment, when you could just be honest and be realistic about where you're going and what you need to do. All right. So taking control of your destiny, being determined to succeed. So not just being comfortable, being uncomfortable, being consistent, continuing to do things despite how you feel, despite your emotions, despite what's going on, being consistent, focusing on the goal, staying focused, not getting distracted. All these things play a role, and this is something that I'm also learning. So, we're in this together. You're not by yourself. Keep being resilient. Keep succeeding. If you fall, get up, learn from it, and keep going. Because if you stay there, you're going to stay stuck. But when you learn from your mistakes and your failures, it's a learning process, failure hurts, but it teaches us what we need to know so that we can be better at it. Okay, take control of your life. No one can control your life but you. So you need to take control and be mindful of, what direction you're actually steering in, what your thought pattern is, what your work ethic is, what your consistency is like. All these things matter when it comes to success. And when success comes, you need to be prepared for it. You need to be ready for it, and you need to know what to do with it. Because if you don't, then, it's you're either going to use it or lose it. So, get prepared for what you want. Because if you get something that you want and you're not ready for it, you're not going to know how to handle it. And most likely, you're not going to know how to keep it. So a lot of us come into different opportunities, but some of us are not ready for what we actually have been waiting for. So don't just wait and not do anything. Wait and work. All right. Write your goals down and place them in a place where you can see them to remind yourself of the goal. Sometimes we forget. We look in the mirror and sometimes forget what we look like. So if we forget what we look like and it's us, we're more than likely going to forget what our goals are if we don't write them down, if we don't constantly revisit them, So, success comes. What's next? Continual success based on the consistency, the preparation, and the work. You only get what you give, so make sure you're giving 100%. You said you're more confident in yourself. You doubt myself more. I doubt myself more versus achieving the things that I want to do. Yeah, so just focusing on those thoughts that are negative, that are self-doubting, that are fearful, channeling them out and making them so that they are obsolete. Because once you get to the point where your thoughts overpower what you actually want to do, your will, then, those thoughts are winning. But when you decide this is not the end of the road, I'm going to overcome this, I'm going to prove to myself and those thoughts that that's not who I am, that's not where I'm going to stay, you're back in control. So take control of those thoughts, take control of your life. All right, so that will be everything that we are going to be discussing today about success and what comes after success. Have more than one goal and just keep achieving those goals. So thank you so much to everyone that tuned in, those who participated. It was definitely a pleasure. It's always great coming to you with different questions, getting a sense of where you are. Definitely, if you have any questions that you would like us to discuss during our lives, or if you have any questions, you could put them in the question box. Hi, Monique. How are you? Welcome to Q&A Wednesdays. We're just finishing up on our question, Success Comes, What's Next? I'll definitely leave the links for the YouTube videos that we watched today once I load the video. So just a few things. Next week is Showcase Your Talent show. There are a few spots left and registration ends this week. So if you are interested in competing for a chance to win $100, if you want to feature or if you want to sponsor and share what you've got going on during the show, you can click the link in the bio to register for one of those options. We would love to have you. So far, there's a great lineup, so we are looking forward to that. We have Meeting of the Minds Mondays coming up this Monday. All right, and stay tuned for that. You will see our topic for next week coming up soon. Also, if you have any topics that you would like us to discuss for Meeting of the Minds, you can definitely email us or DM us so that we can add it in the queue, because we are here to serve you. Of course, we have Q&A Wednesdays once a month, and we go over different questions. I pose a question. If you have any questions of your own, you can feel free to email them before the live so that we can answer them prior to, or you can ask them during the live in the question box. Feedback is welcome. All right, we have Freestyle Fridays. So open mic is first or fourth Fridays. Battle art is second Fridays. This month will be next week because we weren't able to have it last week. This Friday will be our Art of War, Art Awareness fundraiser, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, so if you are interested in coming and sharing your art, definitely request to join the live. We are raising funds so that we can come to a city, state, or country near you so that we can just come and appreciate the beauty, uniqueness, and necessity of art and how it makes the world go round. All right, we have YouTube subscriptions. We have email subscriptions. We also have Freestyle Friday feature segment, which is being substituted by the Art Awareness fundraiser. So stay tuned. Can't wait to hear it, sis. We have member fees as well. We also have Intellect's a Place for Artrepreneurs podcast. We are coming up on season 3. So if you are interested in being a feature on our podcast, definitely DM us or email us so that we can connect. We have promo options. We have merch. We have shirts as well. We have voiceover options. We have a bunch of different things going on. But if you want to be abreast of everything that's going on via Intellects, definitely subscribe to our emails. You'll be the first to know. All right, so that will be pretty much everything. Again, thank you to everyone who tuned in. Those who will watch this later, definitely appreciate you all. Again, I am your host, Intellects, and I look forward to seeing you all very soon. Until next time, have a great Wednesday and an awesome rest of your week.